He is with Suzy, which you may have recently heard about in Wilmington after they located their offices in downtown. And Will is Chief Technology Officer for Suzy, which is a New York headquartered market research firm. And then next to Will is Dave Sawyer. He is a founder of Vantaca, which is a homegrown tech company created in 2016. He also founded CAMS, a community assessment company. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how Vantaca came out of CAMS and grew here from within Wilmington, but also how Suzy located here from New York. So thank you for both of us for joining. Will, thank you especially for joining us. Will, which is maybe what we're going to talk on in terms of the pros and cons of remote working, was in New York yesterday for executive meetings, flew and drove here to be with us this morning, and we'll be back after this up in New York after this for more meetings. So that's the commute that you get when you locate to Wilmington then. But just to start us off so that we all know a little bit more about what the companies actually do, so we can all sound smarter at our holiday parties when we talk about you guys. Can you both just start us off and start with you, Will? Tell us what Suzy does and what your operations here in Wilmington are.
So Suzy is a market research company designed for big brands and enterprise companies to move with high agility. This means instead of getting research and insights done in months or quarters, it happens in days or weeks. And then our company, of course, is founded in 2018 officially. We've pivoted once, that was a major pivot, and it's based in New York City, and obviously technology is our center point. We have innovative technology and innovative team, essentially. And our local community here, which I'm, of course, now understanding, everyone here is understanding, is that we're a tech hub. This is where all technology is going to happen. So that's kind of what Suzy is. And my role as CTO is to drive the vision of the company's tech and, of course, to facilitate tech happening at Suzy.
And Dave, explain to us what Vantaca does.
Yep. So first I'm going to say I'm a little bit of a disadvantage because I saw how powerful Natalie English's slide was on bridges. So I wish I had the opportunity to start my presentation with a picture of a bridge. Thank you for inviting me to be here to speak about this today. So Vantaca is a SaaS-based enterprise operating system that powers the community association management industry. So let me describe a little bit about what that means. The community association management industry is a really big real estate, part of the real estate sector in the United States economy. There's roughly 35 million properties that are under the umbrella of a community association. Community association is simply a legal structure that provides for the governance and the common area maintenance of a community, right? So roughly 35 million sit under that umbrella, and there's 355,000 associations in this country that serve those, that are part of those 65 million people, those 35 million people. And to give you a sense about the trajectory of this industry, in the 70s there was 10,000 homeowner associations, community associations in this country, and in 2021 there's 355,000. So this is a really fast-growing industry, really big, covers a big segment of the real estate economy here in the United States. Another interesting statistic about the industry is, as an industry in 2021 we collected a little over $100 billion in dues from our communities that we manage as an industry, and we spent about $100 billion. So a lot of money is flowing through the systems of these management companies. And so once again, our target then is a professional management company, and there's roughly 8,000 to 10,000 management companies in the country. So we go sell our software to management companies go manage homeowners associations, and those homeowner associations have people living there. And just to give you an update on where Vantaca fits into this equation right now, we're at about a 5% market share in the industry. So we manage 5% of the management companies, roughly 17,500 out of 355,000 associations. And so far this year in 2021, at this small stage, we've processed somewhere around $10 billion worth of financial transactions through our software program. So it's a very, very big space. And yet at a 5% market share, we have significant growth ahead of us. And by the way, we do that with about 100 people here locally.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, so in roughly 5 or 6 years, where are you guys at now, going from zero to where you are?
So we started Vantaca in 2016 as a custom software solution for my management company, which has operated out of Wilmington for a total of 30 years. And in 2017, we launched our first customer that was not one of our customers. And so we launched our first customer. So from 2017 until 2021, that's when we've onboarded roughly 175 management companies, 17,500 associations. And I didn't mention this number, but our system serves then 2.2 million homeowners that live in associations that we manage. So pretty rapid growth. During the pandemic, we actually doubled our headcount. So we actually went from roughly 40, 45 employees to what we have today, which is approaching the 100 range.
And then, Will, where are you guys at now as a relatively new office here?
Yeah, so in the office here, we're just started. Obviously, there's no furniture because of the stuff we just mentioned a moment ago. So you go to our office now, it's a bunch of invisible people sitting on invisible chairs. But in the pandemic, we also grew. We started, again, 2018 with maybe 30 employees after a repivot, and now we're at 210. And the engineering org specifically started at 5, and now we're at 44 under us. And we're continuing to rise, and obviously the jobs announcement includes that. So this office here is slated to have 40 by the end of next year. And we can only promise 40, but there's going to be much more than that. There's a reason we got that big 12,000 foot floor, not to have 10 people in it naturally.
Okay, and so both companies made headlines this fall, and that was one reason why we wanted to invite you both for this year's Most Intriguing, because you both had specific announcements to growing here in Wilmington. So that's kind of what we want to dig into. And so, Will, in your circumstance for Suzy does not currently have a presence here. I imagine the upper level up in New York, they were looking at maybe different sites, or what got Wilmington on the map for them?
Yeah, the major reason that we're on the map is because I was here fundamentally. The existence of Wilmington is not something that people in Manhattan just know. They don't have it on their list, right? It's not a short list. So when the company was looking to set up a hub, so to speak, and this is the basic nature everyone knows, in the universe of Zoom, everyone's talking to each other, we can all quickly connect and do wonderful things, but it's all by calendar and by time slots. Technology people do not need to be in front of a calendar. They don't need anything of that nature. They actually want to be in kind of little huddle rooms like you guys are doing now, so that when they hear somebody a few feet over, they can peek into it. So our objective was to build a hub for technology and high-level technology, and Wilmington, because I was here, is a natural introduction to the company. The reason that Wilmington is wonderful, of course, as Natalie's mentioned before, is the life balance here. Suzy looks at our plan and our philosophy on how to acquire talent is based on every company does, I'm sure, similarly. They look at the HR numbers and they decide they're going to be at 50% or maybe above market, below market. Suzy does definitely not the middle, and it goes above market, but also we don't go hyper local, we go regionally. So our salary structures are regionally based, not necessarily individual localities. So Wilmington, being the least growing community in the region, is kind of a prime target for us because our offerings of money and our abilities to draw people from the neighboring regions here is part of the value of that. And again, Suzy itself is an innovative technology, innovative people, and we disrupt, and our personality is disruptive. So us coming here is kind of like, yeah, we're going to disrupt things. It's okay, and we can because there's neighboring communities that can bring those folks here. So that was the big pitch of the big story. Sure, we can go to the known places and fight Apple for talent, but why? We have the beach here. Let's let the beach fight Apple for talent.
And same lines, Dave, I know you're from here, you have a long history here. I guess there's a scenario where in y'all's heads you always thought you would grow here, but I have a feeling that you were also looking at other areas as well when you were comparing stay here and grow, do a satellite office. What was your thought process?
Yeah, and my answer will get a little bit different than maybe what you're expecting. The first part of my answer is it was very obvious to start a software company here in that my company was trying to solve for my company, right? So we had a need within our company. There was technological limitations in our industry. We were an ambitious company. We wanted to accomplish a lot more. And one of the hurdles we kept having to kind of overcome was this limit of technology in our industry. We were just very underserved. And so we came to the conclusion that if we were going to if we're going to do something to overcome these hurdles, we're going to have to create something for our company. So our primary focus was creating a solution for our company. And through the years, I had a team of people that were starting to get really good at solving bigger and bigger problems, which created even bigger opportunities for us. And so the next big tackle in our life was to say, let's go tackle software. Let's go create a software solution for ourselves. So roughly the 2013, 2014 time range, that was our target, is just solve this problem for CAMs. I think in parallel, what was happening in this business community, though, was really inspirational for us, right? So I've been in real estate in Wilmington since the early 2000s, and I feel like in the 2000s, so much of our economy was dependent on real estate. And by the way, this is Dave's version of the economy. So I feel like the economy was so dependent on real estate, and everything was so tied to it. And then we had this, massive crash in 2008, and it really set the world back here locally. And it took years to unwind this overinflated real estate market. So coming out of that, there was conversations with local political leaders and Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Wilmington Business Journal. What does the future of Wilmington need to look like? What's the next evolution of Wilmington? And so there was conversations around wanting to create clean jobs, right? Jobs that were less environmentally impact. And at the same time, this country was starting to go through a digital transformation. So there was new software companies starting to work on this massive digital transformation that we've been going through for a number of years now. So all that stuff was kind of playing in my mind. And so I looked at that, I kind of admired what was happening. I paid attention. And so from 2008 to 2013, locally, as we all know, Live Oak Bank got launched here. Next Glass got launched, which ultimately became Untapped. Encino got launched. Castle Branch made a serious commitment to the area and built a state-of-the-art facility. PPD got acquired by private equity and brought in world-class leadership. So there was new industries that were starting to pop up, and they were starting to tackle the world, right? They weren't just solving local problems. They were thinking about how to change their overall industries. And so I really admired that a lot and thought to myself, maybe we should start thinking a little bigger on this opportunity. And so my project team that initially started developing this software solution kind of pivoted early on and said, you know what, if this is going to work for our company, why don't we make it work for the industry? Why don't we go ahead and really try to change the industry for the good? And so we really expanded our horizons. And so from 2014 to 2016, we spent time looking at the macro opportunities in community association management, and we made a commitment that we were going to develop solutions that would position us to be one of the leading software companies in the industry. So in some respects, I don't know that we intentionally chose Wilmington for the reasons maybe that Will did, but I think Wilmington played a big role in creating Vantaca. I think Wilmington gave us the confidence and gave us the motivation to say, you know what, this is the type of thing that we can create in this local area, and so we did that. And so during those periods of time now, we had a lot of what I call entrepreneurial capital starting to accumulate, coming from a lot of different areas. And so I was excited to be able to lean on those types of capital and really try to figure out how they could help us build a world-class software company. So that was really how we tackled that. Yes, we did, when we got to a point, we did have other areas approach us and try to explore whether that would make sense there. But I just felt like I knew the local economy so well. I knew the community. I knew a lot of the players. And so it just felt like it'd be much more efficient to try to stand this company up locally than try to be a very, very small fish in a much bigger pond.
You mentioned that that discussion around diversifying the economy after the Great Recession, and I know that happened in a lot of parts around the country. And when you talk clean jobs, higher paying jobs, there were a lot of communities, both our size, bigger size, that also went after the tech sector. How are we going to build this up? What name, moniker are we going to give ourselves? So I'm kind of curious from your perspectives again, because you and Will, remind us how long you've been in Wilmington now.
I'm going to call it 5+1. I was here for 1 year, then left for a year, and returned because I loved it so much.
And also because?
But yeah, my original, of course, I was living in Denver. My wife was watching Dawson's Creek, said it was a pretty place. I worked remote my whole life, so the next week I was here looking at apartments.
James Vanderbeek is our greatest marketing tool.
Yes.
So, from your perspectives of how you've seen the community grow, where would you say the Wilmington and the region is in terms of, building that sector? Where do you feel like we are on that, especially when you look at other parts of the country that are doing the same thing? Are we in the infant stages? Do you feel like we're maturing in that?
Do you want to go first?
You go first because you came from a different area,
Yeah.
so I'd be curious to hear what you say.
All right, so yeah, I think that the Wilmington region specifically is vastly underserved. When you go to the larger regions nearby, tech is part of the pulse. Tech does not feel like part of the pulse. When I first moved here, I was looking heavily for a tech community, and I found one group and it was hodgepodge. It wasn't a real scenario. I'm originally from Southern California, so that's not, of course, the same as Northern California in that universe, but there was always tech everywhere. Technology was just abundant. When I moved here, it became very clear, as a beautiful place that it is, and a great work-life balance, it was not about technology, or when I first came here, it didn't even seem like about business. Of course, I was disconnected, and I always kind of am disconnected from that stuff. But fundamentally, we have a huge opportunity here, and really because of neighboring regions, we can just siphon all the talent. You see all the news coming in about the triangle bringing all this talent and the money in. All those people that are there now want to be displaced, and all the attraction is naturally going to be, they may look at the dot line here, but their peripheral vision is going to see Wilmington. As long as Wilmington just waves their hands and says, hey, we're here, we're going to get those folks. So I think we're very, 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 I'm going to say it one more time, very small in what we can accomplish here.
What do you think, Dave?
I think my experience is a little bit different, right? So when we had a clear vision of what we thought the opportunity was for us, and we created a story that we could, compel people to, at least take a conversation from us, I made it my mission to network like crazy with anyone that I thought might have some nuggets of wisdom that we could take advantage of. So I spent a lot of time talking to leadership at Live Oak, Encino, Castle Branch, all the normal suspects in this town. I spent a lot of time, and those folks were very, very accommodating and very forthcoming about things we should know and things we should be thinking about, and helping us look around the corners a little bit. So that was hugely helpful to me to really understand those opportunities. Early on, we went to UNCW and we said, hey, we're going to be hiring some people here. We're going to need some kids that have computer science experience, information systems, business experience. And they immediately latched on to that and said, hey, let us help you identify the right candidates that we can start pushing your way for hiring purposes. Let us help. We'd like you to get involved with our university and maybe help shape some of the curriculum that might be applicable to your business needs. So that was a big deal for us, early on in UNCW. Today, roughly 40% of our employees have come from UNCW, which has worked out really well for us. I went to the Wilmington Business Development early on. And so I talked to Cliff Pryon and I talked to Scott Satterfield, and I said, hey guys, we're going to start a software company here. Someday this is going to be a big deal. And so what can you do to partner up with us to, expose us to some of the resources we can take advantage of, maybe some talent that we could talk to, maybe some financial incentives, so on and so forth. Over the years, they really dedicated a lot of time to us to getting to know us, and that resulted in the last 12 months of getting the North Carolina Department of Commerce to agree to a jobs development investment grant. And so that's a big deal for us. So what they've committed to, what the state's is committed to, is we're not only going to fund your next 100 hires or participate in your next 100 hires from a financial incentive standpoint, but we're going to help you create a training program, customized training program that is going to help you scale up that's going to help you train up your people as they become productive for your company. So we're working with the North Carolina Community College System. We're working locally with Cape Fear Community College, Dan Yoakley. We've created a customized training program, 31 different training topics, almost 700 hours of training. We're utilizing Cape Fear Community College's professors. We're using third-party professors, our third-party instructors that they're recommending to us. So we really leveraged, those little pieces really well. And so I get Will's point. Maybe there's not this prosperous, massively experienced economy here, but I think there are unlimited resources to lean on as you try to navigate just about any topic associated with a software startup. I mean, I just haven't encountered a situation where I'm not sitting there going, you know exactly what type of capital markets we should go to. You know exactly how a DevOps organization should work. You could probably help me find a good sales team that I can start. All those equations I've had great success finding, but I've networked like crazy. So I've really engaged the local business community to do that.
I think we're not actually misaligned there, because really we're talking about the same thing from different angles, perspectives. Suzy today is not interested necessarily in people coming out of college. We want people at a senior level on the way other side. So we're starting from the senior going down, and perhaps other folk are starting from the bottom and going up. So our angles, I think we're looking at the same thing, just from different viewpoints.
Yeah.
All right, well, interesting stuff, and I appreciate you guys giving us something to fodder to think over, when we look at replicating the next 2, the next 20 companies like this. Those are the things I think those of you in the room might want to consider then. So I appreciate you guys sharing your different perspectives on us. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.